Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got a really good one for you guys. So we're going to go right to the source today, and we're going to go over that infamous interview that who was talking about it? Vlad was talking about the infamous interview yesterday when we were watching the other video. So we're going to go over the new one. I mean, the original video. So how are you guys doing today? I hope you guys are all having a great holiday. There's a lot of good things going on out there. People are giving back to the community, and that's what I do. I enjoy giving back. I want to thank Ishmael. Thank you for the donation last night. I really appreciate it. Every single dollar counts. We have a toy drive going on right now, and it's right down to the wire. If you want to help out, you can hit up the Cash App, Super Stickers, Super Chats, Venmo, PayPal, all that stuff. And we're going to make it happen for these kids this year. And I'm going to take you guys along for the ride for all the people who did donate. So all the people that did donate, if you have a membership, I'm going to be making a video of everything that I put together. And if you were involved, then you will see the video. But it's crazy. I get some people that are commenting crazy things, demanding things. And it's like, I'm not doing this for you. Like, I'm doing this for kids. And this is the third year that I've done this. So, you know, all the negative naysayers aren't going to stop me from doing what I do. Regardless, I'm going to get it done. So if you guys want to help out, it's greatly appreciated. Cash App is Chatting with Staxx. And there's a bunch of different ways for you to donate. So this video is a really good one. You guys are going to laugh quite a bit, I believe. And if you don't, then you have no sense of humor. And remember, before we get started, I am not a gangster. I never was a gangster. I never tried to be, well, I tried to be, you know, a street type of gangster guy, but never tried to be in the mafia. I had no connections with the mafia, didn't care about the mob or none of that. So I just want that to be very clear. By no means was I ever in the mob or trying to be in the mob or any of that shit. I didn't care about that back in the day. I cared about being in the streets and doing stupid shit. And that's what I used to do. But now we're trying to show people that you can change. You don't have to let addiction consume your life anymore. Today could be the day that you change and you could have a whole new lease on life. It is incredible. The life I live today is incredible, and I wouldn't change it for anything. I'm proud of who I am. I walk around and I don't hold my head in shame anymore. And I know I'm in the right direction. I have good people on my side, and I will never give up. Life's just too good right now. And it's been for a while. And you can experience that too. And remember, misery is always refundable. You don't have to, if you don't like recovery, you can always go back to the bullshit. It will always be there for you. All right, so let's get to this video. You guys are going to really like this one. Shout out to Patrick David for this interview that we are about to bestow on you guys. Without any further ado,
John A. Light with me as a guest. John A. Light was part of the Gambino family as an associate. He was working directly with John Gotti Jr. They were good friends from early on, teenagers, and He's been known as one of the main hitmen of the Gambino family, if not the main hitman. And so today's conversation is going to be more the mafia serious. Having said that, here's John A. Light. John, thanks for coming out.
Look at the smirk. Look at the smirk.
For having me. I
So,
appreciate it.
so you know, one of the questions before we get into everything that we got, how did you even get into having a relationship with John Gotti Jr.? How did that connection take place with the two of you?
Back in the game. Thanks for joining me this morning. I appreciate it. This afternoon. Big boy Blue, what's going on, my friend? How are you? Roy, what's up, man? Did I get a baseball bat and knock 7 bells out of Santa Claus? Yes. Yes, I did. Everett, what's up, man? John Wayne Gacy's boyfriend. How are you? Yankees for life. How are you? Merry Christmas. Hope you guys are all having a blessed holiday.
I grew up back in Woodhaven, Queens, Jamaica Avenue, and I grew up around the mob. So before Gotti Sr., Jr.'s father, took over the mob in our area as the boss, Fat Andy Ruggiano was the boss, who I was close with the family, with the sons. I played baseball with him. I used to box at the same gym.
Let's get this straight. Fat Andy was not the boss of the Gambino family. He was a captain in a neighborhood, controlling that neighborhood. So when he says he was the boss before Gotti, no, he wasn't. Carlo Gambino was the boss, and he transferred power over to Paul Castellano. How do we know that? Because we know that. Now let's hear the lies.
He was the Captain Gambino family that ran our area. When he went to prison, Senior took over and stepped in his shoes, and that's who you start reporting to, is whoever takes over that position.
So
But he's failing to tell you that he wasn't in the mob. He was Albanian. He could not be in the mob. By no means. I mean, there are some people who were not Italian who had some power. Joe Watts, Joe the German Watts, had a lot of power and influence. There was Willie Boy Johnson. But these guys were no Joe Watts or Willie Boy Johnson. They did not have it like that. So believe what you want.
Production was made through what was
Well,
a
yeah,
local community. Did you kind of meet him? Were you guys friends? At what age did you meet John Gotti Jr.?
Well, Junior and me we knew each other.
No, you were friends. He slept over his house. That's the extent of your relationship. Now let's see the lies.
When Junior was about 16 years old, I was a year older than him at 17. We were introduced through mutual friends, said hello, goodbye, and he would come up to Jamaica Avenue once in a while, seeing a guy named Johnny Gebbett. Actually, he's one of the guys I ordered his murder the
Here we go.
first week I went into prison. I told him to hit this guy when I go to prison. So that was his introduction.
Hey, Kelly, how are you? Happy holidays. Hope you have a great Christmas with you and your family.
To me and him. And later on, that ended up being, I guess, me and Junior had that love-hate relationship since we're children.
Oh, since him 16, you 17. So right off the bat, you guys had a love-hate relationship.
Yeah, there was on his end, he needed us guys from Jamaica Avenue because he wanted to become, he had aspirations to be like his father. So he wanted to meet some tough guys. And Jamaica Avenue is where we grew up, were guys that didn't have money. We come from a poverty-stricken area. Where he grew up was a rich area.
Don't get me wrong. John A. Light was very capable. Back in the day, he did do some violence. He did run the streets and do some things. I went to Woodhaven, Queens, and I spoke to some people about Mr. Aletto. And they said, some of them said that they called John the sheriff. Now, why would they call him the sheriff? Why would they call you a cop? Yo, the cop's coming down the street. Mike, how you doing? Rat smashing, the best Christmas of all Staxx. Sonny Grasso, what's going on? Amazing. Mike Prima, how are you? Happy holidays.
So in order for him to feel that he was being getting his feet wet in the street, he had to come up to Jamaica Avenue and meet me and some of my friends.
Oh, he didn't have to just go home and be around Gotti Sr., right? Because Gotti Sr. wasn't a gangster, right? Is that what you're saying, John?
So his initial friend was Johnny Gebbett, who was a street guy. I mean,
So at that age 17, was his father already the boss of the Gambino family? Has it happened yet? Or Paul Castellano's event hasn't taken place
no,
yet?
it hasn't taken place.
Hasn't
yet.
taken
No,
place.
no.
Okay.
No, they needed me to make it take place.
So at this point of where you're at, the community, are you in high school at 17 or you've already been out of school?
No, I'm in high school still.
And who are you in high school? If I went to school with you, who's John I like?
I was a guy that was known to be in the gyms boxing all the time. Lost Battalion Hall was the gym. Big names at that time were at the gym was David Sears, and he fought Spinks. He got knocked out very quick, but he was a great fighter actually. Burt Young from Rocky owned him and managed him. Jerry Cooney.
Rest in peace to Burt
Jerry
Young.
Cooney on his radio show. So Jerry Cooney was in that gym, same gym as me, and Andy's Fat Andy Ruggiano's kids. Albert Ruggiano, great athlete and a fighter. So we all were in those gyms. Billy Streamy ends up getting killed also. A good
Fat
friend
Andy's
of mine.
kids. So this is like the place. This is the place. This is the tough guy's place where you're growing up at.
Oh, no doubt. We nicknamed our area Death Haven because most of these guys that we're going to speak about are dead. They all got killed. So, you know, I'm one of the lone survivors, I guess, over the years. And there's close to 100
Lone
guys that
survivor.
grew up with us in that neighborhood that lost their lives.
Now let me ask you, you said close to 100 guys that grew.
100, yeah.
So growing up as a kid, at what age were you forced to be tough to survive in that area? Is it right like 5, 6, 7? How soon does it start?
My father was a fanatic about fighting and not getting bullied. So at an early age of 3 years old, we were actually working out, doing push-ups, and learning to jump rope.
3 years old.
3 years old. And we had a regimen of routines.
3 years
baseball
old.
and boxing. Those were just two sports for us. So we were known, and my father was known in the area as king of the kids. He would bring kids down and learn how to box with us. And so some of our childhood friends, like Timmy Donahue, he's passed away also, was also learning to fight with us. My father brought us in and didn't want us to grow up in a neighborhood that was tough without being able to be tough.
So right off the bat, you're learning how to box.
Right off the bat.
Now, your dad, who was your dad personality-wise? Was he a gangster? Was he connected to anybody? Was he just a respected guy? Was he a money guy? Was he a worker? Who was your pops?
My dad.
All right, so listen to this. Listen, now put this into perspective. He says on other interviews that his father was connected to Lucky Luciano, Blackie, and all this stuff. Like, his father was in the life, right? His father ran the Gambino family, allegedly. On other interviews, that's what he says. So something's about to not add up here. Let's see what he says.
In Rivington and Delancey Street, which is a known hub, especially back when he grew up in the in the 40s and 50s, with gangsters like Vito Genovese were down there and guys like that, famous gangsters in those days. So if he was a hang-around guy, he wasn't a shooter, he was a gambler, but he stood with all gangsters and he was very friendly with Lucky Luciano's cousin, Charlie Luciano. We used to call him Blackie. So I was introduced to him as a young kid. So my father was very familiar with the world of mob guys.
Because he needs an in to the Gambino family, because he was running the Gambino family before John Gotti Sr. ever was. That's what he alleges. And then he alleges that he didn't have dealings with Sammy Gravano while he was in the Gambino family with Junior, Senior, taking orders from Senior, but he had no dealings with Sammy Gravano. Now make that make sense.
Was he trying to get you to stay away from the world? Like, what's the link? Was he kind of like, hey, you got to go out there and figure out a way to make money at all costs? What was the conversation like between you and your pops?
No, my dad was complete opposite. He was a gambler, a hustler, and didn't want me with the mob world. But at the same time, he was bringing me around these guys. So as he's telling me stay away, as I'm getting older, I'm getting attracted to the money, and I see my father struggling. And I see some of these guys, and they treat me well, and I'm getting attracted to that life, and I want that life.
I don't believe him. I'm telling you right now, I do not believe what he's saying, because if his father was around all these gangsters like he says he was, because in other interviews he says his father was a gangster. So now he wasn't a gangster and he was struggling. So, but he's around all these powerful gangsters who are making all this money and he doesn't get involved with anything. I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
You wanted that life.
I wanted that life. My father wanted me to be a pro fighter or a pro ball player, a baseball player. So he had a different outlook on things, and he didn't think, in my father's mind, I'm very close to my dad, is to teach me to survive, for me to understand the mob world, but to be like him. Don't go and dive into that world. And I guess he thought that I would never dive in, I'd be like him. But it was the opposite. I went to the extreme the other way.
You went to the extreme the other way. Mom and dad both Albanian?
Both Albanian.
Both Albanian.
Both Albanian.
Okay, got it. And so he's trying to, encourage you not to get in, but at the same time you're around the environment, gambling, you're around. And at what age are you around these folks, by the way? Is it very early?
Very young, early.
Very early.
Very early.
And are they taking a liking to you? Like, look, we like, is there a name? Hey, little Johnny, were you like somebody that was liked?
Yeah, I was a skinny little kid, but I was muscular because I was always doing push-ups and pull-ups. And so they used to joke, Johnny, walk on your hands, because I could stand on my hands. Johnny, show us to do pull-ups.
Yeah.
And I was like a good dog doing tricks, right? I liked the attention.
You were a trick pony, right? You were a one-trick pony? I don't know. I don't know if he was a broom pusher, but he was a one-trick pony. He said it himself.
That they kept saying it was tough. They tell me to put their hands up, hit your hand, and then I'd hit their hands boxing a little bit, and they get a kick out of me, and I got a kick out of them getting a kick out of me. So
interesting.
I continued with it.
Form of entertainment, form of acceptance. So, what was the first experience of making money illegally or legally for you? At what age?
Again, I was in an environment that it was constant trouble, and it was constant gang-related back in those days.
Come on, so you don't know the exact age when you made money with the mob? Involved with something? You don't know what age you were? Like, you have no idea. It's just, my whole time growing up, I was just involved. Money just dumped on my lap, but my father wasn't involved, but he had me involved, right? As a kid. You expect us to believe this, Johnny?
Back in those days, there was a lot of racial tension because of the times. It was the 60s. So I worked in a deli, and I spoke about this. It's called Dick's Deli, and it was a legitimate job. And in between going to box and playing baseball, I became the captain of the baseball team in high school. I was working in this deli, but that deli introduced me to a couple of things. A lot of my friends that were involved with a gang called 7 and 9 that were very dangerous, and it became a huge gang throughout all New York, not just our area. And it introduced me to the corner shop, the car service. It happened to be my girlfriend's father, and he was a gangster with the Lucchese family. And around the corner was a bookmaker, which was his brother, Louis Gaddy, and George Gaddy. And he ran the local bookmaking area and horse room.
How old are you at this time when you're saying?
I get maybe 15 when I started getting involved running slips for them, innocently.
At 15?
I'm working in Dick's Deli, and they asked me, do me a favor and run it across the street. So innocently, I'm not looking to get involved to that extent. They're just guys telling me, hey, bookmakers and some tough guys and a couple killers that later on, at that age, I still don't realize they're killers. They were humble guys, and people have the idea the loudest man in the room is the toughest, and it's complete opposite. The guy.
Did you hear what he just said? The loudest guy in the room is not the tough. He said some people think that the loudest guy in the room thinks they're the toughest. But
Who are you? But I'm gonna fix it. I did this to the door. Who are you? But I'm gonna fix it. I pushed the door in. 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 I did this to the door. Yes, I pushed the door in.
And his card is on file here.
Yours. But I'm gonna fix it. 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 But I'm gonna fix it.
So if I get charged for this,
You're not being charged. You're not being charged. You're not being charged. You're not being charged.
I'm the one who's taking you. To the door.
I did this to the door. I pushed the door in.
You ruined it.
There's his crew. That's his crew right there.
Guys I've learned to look up to are guys like
He put
Charlie
the door in
Luciano,
with his
that were
lips.
humble and quiet and gentlemen. And those are the guys when they could turn that switch on and kill. And I try to mimic those guys as I got older.
It's funny, Gianni Russo also said in New York he would run. He was a runner at 14, 15 years old for Frank Costello. That's what he was doing that for when he was doing certain favors for. So at what point were you kind of like, well, you know, I'm running, I'm doing this, but I'm seeing the lifestyle. Maybe there's a bigger opportunity here. Where was that opening? Was there any?
Excuse me.
That's Gene trying to catch sausage. Wave to the people, Gene. Hey, everybody. Merry Christmas.
Was it accidental? Was it intentional? How did it happen?
Well, I didn't have to really, after doing that, I didn't have to get any further introduction because I'm working and I'm making $75 a week in the deli, basically working full time for the whatever minimum wage was back then. And if George or Louis had a good week and their runners, Ito, he was also a professional boxer, Ito was a gangster, and Mousy, another guy. When they were having a good week, they tipped me 20, 50, 100. So at the end of the week, I'm getting 75 from the deli, and these guys maybe on a good week are giving me 300. And you're talking about when I'm a kid, when 300 is like 3,000.
What year is this?
This is 1975, 76, 77.
That's a
like
lot
that.
of money right there.
A lot of money.
Yeah. For a 14, 15-year-old kid making $300 a week on top of the 75. So, okay, so now you meet Gotti.
What about the millions he was making? What happened to that? His heroin operation. I think he's going to explain it. So let's check it out.
You're 17, he's 16. Where does the relationship go to, you know, come on in, let's do some more work together? How does that happen?
Well, I'm nickel diamond in the drug business. Albert Ruggiano is my, what you would say, umbrella, and he's a couple years older than me.
Now the truth comes out. He was nickel and diming in the drug business. But according to his other interview, he had a multi-million-dollar operation before he met all the Gottis and was involved with the Gottis.
And if I had any issues, I would bring it to Albert. At the time, his dad was still the boss. And when his dad leaves, I'm also dabbling in a bookmaking business. And Gebbet has a problem with Gotti on a street with some Jamaicans. They rob, I think, about 200 or 300 pounds at that time. Gebbet was moving weed at that time, what we call weed back then. And Gotti was his partner. They asked me to take a ride and be the shooter with Gebbet. Actually, I was the driver. Gebbet was the shooter. And that was the first time they asked me to do a favor. And it was really Gebbet that was asking me to favor because he lived around the corner from me. And he was friends with Gotti and friends with me. So he said, would you do me a favor and take the ride? I said, yeah. And we met Gotti to discuss how we were going to do it. And that was probably the first major step into becoming, later on, involved in setting up multiple killings, shootings, and beatings around the city.
What was the first time the request was made? Like, how did they know you were the guy to go to? Had you already killed people before, or it had never happened before?
No, most of my friends, unlike what people think, because they know my history now, they think I was a wild kid with guns and knives and bats. It was actually the complete opposite. All my friends are in 7 and 9 gang.
His friends were the tough guys. Now the truth's coming out. His friends were the tough guys. He wasn't. He just said I was the opposite. All my friends were the tough guys.
Friend Michael Stratton ends up killing a kid at 16 and going to prison. Another young guy, Tommy Turner, kills another guy that works at Dick's Deli with us. They try to jump him. He stabbed the guy up. He went to jail. So these guys that were growing up with me, the Bonner brothers, they're using guns. Everybody's using guns. My friend Mikey Merlo gets shot in the head with a shotgun chasing a guy that had the gun. So he'll tell you the mentality of us. He's chasing a guy that actually has the shotgun with no gun, and he loses his life there. So I was kind of innocent compared to them. I wasn't.
Did you take responsibility for that killing too, Johnny?
running around with guns. I was fighting with my hands. As I'm getting acclimated with all my friends and surrounding people that are surrounded around my life, I start slowly picking up knives, bats, and then I go into the guns. So after that shooting with Gebbit, I think that opened the door for people saying, oh, this kid will do anything.
Got it. So what was your first experience with knives and bats? Was it still in your teens or?
Oh, yeah, it was in my teens.
Oh, it was in your teens?
Yeah. By the time I'm 17, I start using a bat like crazy too.
At 17?
17. By the time I'm 19, I've stabbed a couple guys, batted a couple of guys. I got stabbed up and batted myself at 19. I almost lost my life that year. I was in and out of hospitals for about a year. And now I really understood the life. And I started to understand as I'm climbing up the ladder.
Badass A-liar puts everyone in the ambulance. Definitely, man. Hey, he's a scary guy, huh?
I'm losing my cousin, Patsy Adriano Sr. gets killed, and Mikey Merlo gets killed, and Billy Estrema gets killed. And
what is this doing to you? When this is happening and you're seeing people that are friends, family getting killed, are you getting the retaliation blood in you, or no? You're just kind of seeing what's going on, you got to protect yourself?
No, I'm getting like you're doing as a journalist and as an interview person, and you develop and you become top in your field, right? You become somebody that's going to be the best, and you're going to do your homework, and you're going to study, and you're going to make sure that you don't make mistakes, and you're going to go as close as you can, as 100%, to be an expert in your business. So I decided I'm not going to be the next victim like all my friends. They're all getting killed out of stupidity, out of trusting. So you got to cut those odds down. And I said to myself, I'm going to be very aggressive, and I'm going to understand I'm not 14 or 15 or 16 anymore. When someone comes after me, they know I'm dangerous now. They're going to come to kill me. So
who are you trusting at that time? Do you have people that you trust 100%?
Oh, yeah, I had a ton of guys. As I'm getting older and I'm moving in the drug business, bookmaking business,
right.
I have dozens of guys that work for me, and it goes into hundreds later on as I keep getting older, and I start my own crews and with the okay of the Gambino family. So I become a big earner on the street, and I become a guy that's well known with different crews, and I'm trusting my guys, and I'm also trusting the mob, almost blindly, believing that there's loyalty and
Hundreds of guys working for me. Hundreds, you hear them? Hundreds. Eventually, there was hundreds of guys under me, with the approval of the Gambino family. That never happened, John. Come on, man. Just stop it.
There's honor and there's no treachery. And I'm still naive, right? I'm a young kid that loves this life, believes in it. And as I start seeing some things as I'm getting older and understanding, there is no honor. It's treachery. There is no love. It's only about money. It's only about an individual surviving. And I'm watching as I'm going through the life and getting bigger and stronger in this life and being
bigger and stronger. I was bigger than the whole Gambino family. I almost took the whole Gambino family out. They named it the A-Light crime family.
More successful. That I'm watching gangster made guy after made guy, cooperating, ratting, breaking the oath, our laws, our rules that I live by.
But what was the first request that made by maybe, John Jr.'s father that came down? Did you have a meeting with John Sr.? Have you had multiple meetings with him?
Let's hear the bullshit. You guys ready? It's about to get thick, man. He's about to lay it on.
Oh, at this point, I've met Gotti Sr., Angelo Ruggiero. I got to report to the club 24 hours a day, 7 days a week when I'm called. I have to be there early in the morning like a job.
This was him, It's like a job. He was Sammy Gravano. Sammy Gravano wasn't really Sammy Gravano. It was John A-Light.
How old are you at the time? 18 plus?
Yeah, about 19 more so,
Okay.
19. It's about the time I get stabbed up and everything. And I don't come a couple of times. And I think Gotti Sr. at this time thinks I'm just one of his son's friends and I don't need to be there. And I get a knock on my door and
He said Gotti Sr. just thinks I'm one of his son's friends. Because you were. That's the truth. You were one of his son's friends. Why are you going with this extravagant bullshit? This untrue fairy tale? Let's hear it.
Grandmother upstairs, we live in the same house. And she says, Johnny, there's a big black car outside and somebody's out there. So I go out there and it's Gotti Sr.'s brothers. It's Pete Gotti and Richie Gotti. At the time, both guys aren't made guys. And they said to him, hey, where the fuck are you? And his brothers, he says, what are you talking about? He says, my brother's looking for you. And I look at him funny like, and then I start realizing, wait a second. You know, to myself a split second, and I go back upstairs and I come down and I says, let's go. And they said, you know, he wants to talk to you. So that's when I realized that I'm just not some kid to him. I'm not his son's friend. We're not.
I'm not his son's friend. I know I'm not just a kid to him. I'm not his son's friend. It's wild.
Gang. This is not a school trip. Now I'm starting to really realize this guy's noticing me and he's watching what I'm doing. And I'm still not understanding it, that these orders I'm getting, collect money, go baseball bat this guy, go pick up this, is that
Gotti had him collect money 2 times. That's it, 2 times. And he didn't know why. He didn't know why he was collecting the money. He had no clue. It was blind shit. Go get this money. You're my son's friend. Go get this money. That's it. I believe Gotti Sr. never even talked criminal business with his son until long later. He didn't. They weren't talking criminal activity while he's a young kid. Why would he do that? You're putting everything at risk if you do that. This did not happen the way he says it. But don't take my word for it. The year is 1890. Mobland, what's up, man? Gerbo, what's going on? We got David Hunt in the building. The truth. What's going on, man?
coming from the Father? You know, I just think it's us doing our own business on our own. Jeannie Gotti's still alive, still around at the time. He's not locked up yet. And I just believe it's that. And then I start to, it opens my eyes and said, this guy he's very aware of what we're doing. He's very aware that we're moving drugs. Just says he isn't. Because I'm not schooled fully yet. I'm still a kid, not understanding the intricacies of the mafia. I'm not.
Look at his hairdo, all right? Just look at Mr. Aleto's hairdo, the mullet. Yeah, second on the right, second guy in. He has a mullet. He had a multi-million-dollar heroin operation at this time. And he had hundreds of guys working for him.
Understanding, I'm not slick enough yet to understand how things are operating. You say something, but you might mean something else. You're doing something, and they're telling you they had no knowledge of it, but they're the ones that sent you. I start understanding all the double dealings and the treachery in the life.
Who's teaching you? Like, who is your lefty to Donnie Barasco or your Sonny? Who's playing that role in your life? That is
Senior. Who thinks he's gonna say senior?
it's kind of mentoring you, say, like, here's what it is, here's what Omerta is, here's the code of this, here's this. Who's doing that with you?
Well, it was
No one, because he's not Italian. Nobody broke it down to him because he's not Italian. He was not a member, was never gonna be a member.
a guy, Ronnie Martino, who was a known killer back in Dick's Deli, and
Gambino family.
No, outside of the Gambino family. He had a brother-in-law that was involved with the Gambino family.
Hey, Tommy Stegg Social Club, what's going on, man? Happy holidays. Hope you have a great weekend.
But he was involved with the Lucchese family. And I had a lot of Lucchese.
He had a brother, Gambino, and his Lucchese.
Not a brother, a brother-in-law.
A brother-in-law, got it.
And, you know, it's not what everybody thinks. It's not, you know, there's 5 families in New York. There's the Outfit in Chicago. There's the Philadelphia mob. There's the Cavalcanti family in North Jersey. We all intermingle with each other. We do business with each other. We're friends with each other. But we also kill each other on order.
But when Aleto here was in the Gambino family under John Gotti Sr., and Sammy was around, they had no dealings with each other. He had dealings with everyone else in every other family, but he had no dealings with Sammy Gravano. Do you believe that?
So it's not as simple and cut and dry that people. There's a lot of people out there that think they know the mob, and they think they understand.
Mobland,
it.
what's
and
up, man?
There's people that are so naive, and there's people that think they're experts in this world and this life.
This world in this life. What's this we shit? You better turn that W upside down, my friend. Because you were not a part of anything, and you never were. You played that tough guy on TV.
There's guys like Sammy Gravano, who was a friend of mine, and other guys that are ex-skippers and bosses and underbosses that we're all in touch with, and we live that life.
What? Now you're talking like that about Mr. Gravano? Come on, man. You weren't saying that a little while ago. You kind of changed your tone about Sammy, haven't you? Now, what's the reason for that? I really want to know. Hold on, let's check.
That's that way. No, what was
So when he says something that's not, that I don't like or I don't agree with, I'm going to say it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll say it again. Now, he's a cunt. He's a fucking coward. He's another big mouth that didn't do much. No.
Okay, Johnny. So what do you want us to believe? Do you want us to believe that John A. Light or this John A.
And
Light?
even us, we have daily problems understanding the life and the treachery. And as we all got out of the life and moved on with our lives, or our friends died or got killed, you know, there's people that challenge us. And these days, you could challenge anybody through a computer.
I'm challenging you, and we can do it in person. We could go to New York City, wherever you want, man, and let's have a debate, a real debate, and see if you can hold up to all my questioning. That's all I want to do is give you a couple questions and you answer the questions. That's all. So if you're up for it, Johnny boy, just reach out.
They talk and they just talk such nonsense because they have no idea or clue of the treachery that involves when you get to the level that we were playing at.
Listen, if you're a gangster, when it's time to be a gangster and take your prison time because of all this killings and shit you did, right? You usually take it on the chin like John Gotti Sr. did. Or Vinny Bassiano or any of these other people. Joey Merlino. They don't fold. They take their time like men. But you weren't a part of that life, so you're able to cooperate and still be a gangster, right, Johnny?
So what's the next play? So now they're coming, the brothers are coming, you're in the car, you're like, I gotta go. These guys, he knows what's going on. The orders are coming from the top. You go in. So now there's almost a level of accountability from his end, and the son is a friend, but it's not, you're not yet reporting to anybody, or are you?
Well, now I start reporting. It's about close to Paul Castellano getting killed. So it's.
But remember, he never had dealings with Paul Castellano either. No dealings. Or Sammy Gravano. Now, they were deep in the life by this time, and he expects us to believe this shit.
Of 84 about prior to Paul getting killed, I start reporting and having conversations more with Senior Gotti. Prior to that, I was involved with Jeannie Gotti, Johnny Cornelia, anybody that was around. Willie Boy Johnson was on a half sheet with him, and Gotti Sr. sent me to him. So I understood that Gotti was my partner, the father.
No, he was partners with the father. Oh, wow.
And we had the New York Mets gambling with me. So.
Well, wait. Now you had the New York Mets gambling with you? In the other interview, you couldn't take their bets because they were too big for you, remember? So your lies are catching up with you, Johnny.
So when I moved to a different level, We used to play at, we used to hang out at a place called Channel 80, and it was a known spot for all gangsters. You'd pull up with a boat. We all had cigarette boats in those days. I had a 280 Baja with Gotti Jr., and we'd pull up to those places, and Roger Basile owned it.
You mean Gotti Jr. had a fucking boat, and you took a ride on it? That's it. Like, stop with the nonsense, man. You just said that you owned the boat. I had a boat, but this guy owned it. Did you hear that? Like, is anyone really paying attention to what this guy's saying?
Around Jimmy Burke from Goodfellas. So when I moved.
Listen close. He says that he had a boat, but then he says this guy owned it.
To a different level. We used to play at, we used to hang out at a place called Channel 80, and it was a known spot for all gangsters. You'd pull up with a boat. We all had cigarette boats in those days. I had a 280 Baja with Gotti Jr., and we'd pull up to those places, and Roger Basile owned it. He was around Jimmy Burke from Goodfellas. His son Frankie was a good friend of mine. He gets killed also.
Let me guess, you killed him, right, Johnny?
And I start understanding that we're all living a pretty dangerous life now. Any moment, anybody could get killed. It didn't matter who it was, where it was, in your house, in a business. And it's not like these days where guys aren't shooting. When we were growing up, 70s, 80s, 90s, there was killing was rampant, shootings were rampant, and battings were rampant. So when I'm doing business and I'm talking to Willie Boy Johnson, I understand.
Willie Boy Johnson, the rat of the Gambino family. I'm sure you were close with him. You guys have a lot in common. You cooperators.
Where it's coming from now. And Gotti had his conversations with me, so I understand. Senior had his conversations.
Oh, you got to clarify. It was senior. This guy's scrambling because when he gets asked questions, it's like he's on the spot and he's like doesn't know what to do. So he's like stumbling over his words.
With me, so I understand the orders are coming from him.
Did you know, were you involved in the Castellano before it happened with Sammy and the team? Was there anything that you know about, or that wasn't at your level yet?
No.
Hold on. Who thinks he was involved? This is going to get good. I told you guys. This is probably one of epic interviews. Epic. Let's see.
I was at my level. But it was through his son. Junior loved to talk to me and brag to me. So privately, Junior told me, I knew I'm involved with Angelo Ruggiero. So I was close with them. I'm close with Johnny Koenig. At this time, I gave a beating to Patsy Catalano's kid, Jeff, who was in the heroin business. Jeannie Gotti and Johnny Koenig asked me to hurt him. I gave a beating to a guy, Frankie. You know, these beatings are serious beatings, not with your hands. Bats, blackjacks. A guy, Frankie, that strayed away from Johnny Koenig, and they asked me to hurt him. Another guy, Mitch Sanders, they asked me to hurt him.
That's not what he asked you, Johnny. He asked you, did you have any knowledge of the fucking Castellano hit? And now you're going off on this rampage about baseball batting people's sons. You see the deflection? It's real over here.
Over some sort of rape with his girlfriend's sister. They accuse him, they go ask him, they ask the Gambino family to do the work. Johnny comes to me. So I start understanding. I hurt Gene Foster on the beach, and I started hurting guys and batting guys and piping guys. And
he's piping guys. Oh, God.
It's coming from, at that time, I didn't really understand it was coming from Gotti Sr. until.
Oh, wait. Wait. Hold on. You didn't understand it was coming from Gotti Sr., but you had meetings with him. So how could you not understand? Did he change the subject? Yes. Yes, he did. Crazy.
Until he didn't like that I didn't jump on a situation fast enough, and he called me in his office. And he said, didn't my son tell you to do something? And then the next conversation I had was, if it's not done, you're going to have a problem. So I took care of business.
Senior told you this?
Yeah. And then I went through that on a regular basis. No, he's a beating still.
Oh, you still haven't.
I'm doing shootings.
Oh, no. You see what I'm saying? Listen to what he said. Oh, these are beatings still. Oh, so you haven't killed anyone yet. So now his age by this point is like 20, right? On the other interviews, he says he killed a whole bunch of people by this time. He didn't wait until after. So let's hear the bullshit. It's getting thick. Get your fucking galoshes on, people.
Excuse me.
I haven't killed anybody
Okay.
besides the Gebbit, and he was the actual shooter. So I don't know how many guys died on that shooting. But, you know, we hit, I believe, 3 guys.
So now you got 3 guys right there, but you didn't know you killed them, right?
Maybe a girl actually was there. So, you know, you don't stand back there and count how many guys are going down. You know they're going down. They're screaming, and he's shooting like crazy.
So that's your first one.
Yeah, that's
Wait, he just said they're going down. They're screaming and they're shooting like crazy. I thought you were shooting them, Johnny boy. What happened?
my first year. I was young. I was 19 years old.
What happened when that happened to you? Were you like, I cannot believe I just did this? What the hell just happened? Or were you?
I was mad because I talk about this. Gotti and a kid Jerry were following us in a K car, Junior, and they were supposed to be our blockers. And they took
Thanks,
off
David.
and made a left when the police were chasing us. Happened the police just stumbled on us. They were coming in the direction of the shooting. It wasn't, we weren't far from the precincts, from 102nd Precinct, so there's a lot of police cars there. I mean, for them to be coming down the block at that time, you got some bad luck. So after we do the shooting, I would think, you know, I wasn't sure how I would react either, like you're saying. Naturally, you're not sure. Are you going to hold your mud, or are you going to panic, or are you going to? It became very natural to me.
Listen, this guy is trying to take Junior's whole life. Like, so Junior was in the military school, right? So guess what? He didn't have dealings with A-Light at that time because he was in the military school. So where was A-Light during all this time? Now, he comes back home, right? He gets into a fight at a bar. Guy gets stabbed. He dies. Junior, not A-Light, Junior gets into a fight. There's a stabbing at a bar and the guy dies. So then his father says, you're coming to the club. Everyone remembers the movie, right? So his father says, you're coming to the club. And he makes him stay there every day. So where was A-Light during all this time? Where? It makes no sense. The shit that A-Light's saying. Like he was involved in selling heroin and all this shit. He's leaving a lot of stuff out of this interview because he's getting questioned.
I pulled away. The cops were chasing us. Gebbit left the gun in my car and he jumped out while I was moving. I was going slow down a one-way street. Not slow, but I was coming up to the stop sign. And he jumped out. He said, let me out. As he jumped out, he left the gun and the cops started chasing me. And my follow car, my backup car, was supposed to be Gotti and his kid Jerry. And they had an excuse why they jumped out. So really, I'm the only guy holding the mud. And I was heading down towards Atlantic Avenue. It was a one. I know the streets there because we lived there. And I know it's a one-way. I open up the passenger door. I open up the other door. I take the gun, and I start huffing on my feet. And I leave the car so the cops can't go by. I get across Atlantic Avenue. I start jumping fences, some backyards, and I'm taking the gun apart and dropping it in sewers as I'm running. And I get myself back to our club on 113th Street, and I'm steaming. And I says, now I want Gebbit. This is the first time I'm saying, okay, I'm going to get Gebbit. So Gebbit came to the shooting high. He was smoking dust. And he's a wild guy. You know, no doubt, I know Gebbit since he's a kid. He's a shooter. He shot a lot of guys, but he's a guy that's smoking angel dust. So I look at him in a different light now. You're weak. You can't do work without doing that. You left me. And I'm looking at Gotti, and I'm thinking, that's all I'm thinking.
Did you guys hear what he said? He didn't say crash car because that's what mafia guys would have said. He said my backup car. I mean, he said something else. He didn't say crash car. Why not? I know why. Because he wasn't in the mob. If you believe any word of this guy's story, then you are delusional too.
Why I stick around is because I have a bigger plan for myself. Because everybody asks me that question. Why do you
I had a bigger plan for myself. I was going to take over Gotti's reign. Sure you were.
stick around? I says, because Junior wasn't my direction.
Yeah, all right.
His father was the direction I was trying to go. And Angelo Ruggiero at the time is moving heroin with Jeannie Gotti, Johnny Koenig. They all get pinched. Mark Ryder.
In the other interview, he said he was making multi-millions of dollars. Millions and millions. Hold on. Let me play that for you guys so you can see that I'm not making it up, but he is. 100%.
We have John Elite in the house. Okay, so it wasn't just one hit man, it was a whole crew.
Bobby Borriello was one. Eddie Leno was taps, and the hit never occurred.
Well, from what I understand, you were put in a position to protect John Gotti Jr., but you called him a spoiled brat.
Dramatically.
Well, you have the drug dealing business, but
He has a drug dealing business, right? He says he had a
really
multi-million
didn't care
dollar
whether you won or
operation.
lost the fight, just as long as you didn't back down.
Yeah, he didn't want me to be a coward, actually. So my biggest fear when I was a kid was facing my father, not facing one kid or 5 kids on the street. He just wanted me to say I fought and didn't let anybody take advantage of me, which I thought, as I got older, I thought was a good thing also. I believed in what he believed in.
Well, here you are growing up in this household, and you know the violence starts early on. But in the beginning, it's just fists, and at one point,
Starting point of most of my friends. So I think I watched a lot of my friends on the street using guns, knives, and starting point of most of my friends. So I think I watched a lot of my friends on the street using guns, knives, and bats.
And that's why he always says, I baseball batted this one, I did that, I did this, I did that. Because he didn't do it. His friends did.
And, I'm very friendly with them, and I'm moving I start moving packages, not in their level.
What? On the other interview, you say multi-millions of dollars, and we're going to show you.
Years on up, believe it, very young age. These guys were in Spofford, and they were in the rehabilitation places and in and out of juvie. And I actually was a little nicer kid, a little slow behind the mark of the rest of the guys. But I don't know if it was, we were just used to getting bloodied up. He did try to grab my leg at the time. This is us.
got it. Okay, so then around 17, you started getting into stabbing.
Yeah. About, I guess around 16, somebody tried to shoot me, a guy named Patty Antique, and I was around the Ruggiano family, who was, Fat Andy Ruggiano was actually straightened out from, in the early 50s by Albert Anastasia.
Oh, that ain't name dropping, right?
So when this guy tried to shoot me as a kid, I went to Albert and these guys, and the son of...
You went to Albert? Who, Anastasia?
Fat Andy Ruggiano, Anthony, and Albert, and they helped me out with the guy. And so, the violence started very young for me. I understood the mob at this point pretty well.
Okay, listen. On the other interview, he just said he didn't understand the mob. He didn't know what the hell was going on. So what do you believe? Do you believe he understood the mob or he didn't? I believe he never understood the mob because he wasn't in it.
Okay, and you got stabbed yourself.
I got stabbed up, batted, hit.
I think I have had enough of this. I'm going to go do something else. But you did not.
No, my mentality again was not to be a quitter and to be aggressive. So I was in intensive care at the time I was involved with. So it happened to be the same crew. And so I was around the Gambino family since a baby through my parents, my father and my uncle, and then later on through Fat Andy Ruggiano, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and just to put it in perspective, according to articles and so forth, the Gambino crime family at the time was the wealthiest and most powerful crime syndicate.
What you're seeing in the men that are around you as a kid, I looked at them as my, baby.
Okay, and were you affiliated with the Gambinos at this point once you started drug dealing?
Oh, yeah. I was always affiliated since I'm a kid, yeah.
All right, so you hear that, right? He just said that he's affiliated with the Gambino family because he's drug dealing. He needs protection, right?
Okay. And, well, originally, Carlo Gambino started the Gambino crime family. He died of old age,
Correct.
passed away at his house, I believe. And Paul,
And that's wrong. Carlo Gambino did not start the Gambino crime family. Lucky Luciano started the Gambino crime family. The name got changed over to the Gambino crime family. They took his name. He didn't start the family. It was already there.
Castellano?
Castellano.
Castellano? Come on, Vlad.
Paul Castellano.
Castellano, sorry. So Paul Castellano, a.k.a. Big Paul, he took over as the boss. And he was known as the Howard Hughes of the mob.
Correct.
Why that name?
Because he was a big money maker. He was Carlo's brother-in-law, and a lot of people were against his own hand. His own hand was coming up when he became the boss. And who were your guy? You step up to him and say, congratulations. And you have, and no, I can't be. I'm Albanian.
Right.
Yeah, you can't be. You're Albanian, and you never were going to be. So stop acting like you were.
But you start with the drug dealing, and at one point you build up.
Here we go. Here we go. You guys ready? This gets good. Listen to this shit.
Up to about $1 million a month.
Correct. Probably more. I mean, that's
No, you're wrong, Vlad. You're wrong. Keep listening.
a conservative number. And, you know, I got guys that work for me like Stevie Newell, I shot. And later on, he was around with the Gaudis and during some of this nonsense that went on. And he says that I'm being too conservative with that number. And this is a guy that worked for me. He said, I think at the time, he was one of my lower level guys, and he was making 15, 20,000 a month. So I think that number is conservative for what we were doing. But for sure, $1 million.
$1 million. You mean that was your gross, right? No, that was my take home. Watch this. Listen to this shit.
Okay. But $1 million, that's just the gross. How much were you bringing in a month in terms of profit?
No, that's not the gross. I'm talking about profit. Yeah.
Who believes this shit, man? Anyone? All right, so he's bringing in multi-millions of dollars, right? And he's a young kid. He's like 17, 18. Now, let's bring it back to the other interview.
All levels, but I'm moving it through Rikers Island, through another guy that said Rikers Island that was the direction I was trying to go. And Angelo Ruggiero at the time is moving heroin with Jeannie Gotti, Johnny Koenig. They all get pinched, Mark Ryder. And I'm very friendly with them. And I'm moving I start moving packages, not in their level.
What? On that other interview, that's what you said. You had multi-million-dollar operation.
In small levels, but I'm moving it through Rikers Island, through another guy that said Rikers Island, a guy Pete Chrissy, he's dead. He died also, but his brothers are still around there. His brothers work for me. Actually, one of his brothers, Tommy Chrissy, shot Gebbett up before we kill him, always on a kill when we see him.
You can't make this up, man.
Which he lived. But
wait, what? He just said he killed him, but he lived. Do you guys believe any of this shit? This is wild shit, man. Pure entertainment. This is entertainment purposes only, people.
Excuse.
I'm in a different circle, and I understand what I'm involved with now, with Angela, with Johnny, and the shooting start, the drug business starts. So I understand, and I know where I want to go. I got the New York Mets gambling with me. And actually, somebody questioned that.
All right. Are you guys ready? He said on the other interview, the Vlad interview, that he couldn't handle their action that they wanted. It was out of his league. But right before that, he said he had a multi-million-dollar drug operation a week, and he was profiting $1 million a week. so he couldn't handle $100,000. Let's listen now.
I don't remember who. And they came out with a check from Keith Hernandez of $5,000 to show they were paying.
They found the $5,000
Yeah,
check
they
from
put it
Keith
was in the
Hernandez?
papers. It was in the New York papers.
So that's documented.
It's documented.
Got it.
You know, a lot of this stuff I'm speaking about, there's a new book I'm coming out with.
Right.
Doc's out too. And I'm going to come back this time, you know, because I'm going to talk about shooting after shooting, stabbing after stabbing. But this time I told my author I want the witnesses and their names besides the victims in that book. And I'm going to do a scorecard inside. So I'm going to show it
I'm going to do a scorecard on all the murders I committed.
step by step for the people that don't understand the life.
So at that moment when that event happened with Gotti Jr., is your level of trusting him at a good score? And then after that, it's a scar where you kind of keep it in the back of your mind saying, I can never trust this guy? Like, where are you with him? Because there are certain things where you see somebody do something in the back of your mind, you're like, okay, it's done. I can never trust this guy, but I have to act like I do. Is that kind of what happened between the two of you?
100%, because people ask you this, you know, during the trials. There's a lot of questions from
Right.
lawyers and journalists, and you know, and I said to them, listen, I tell everybody the same thing. You had other positions before this. As a kid, you're growing up, and there's bosses you don't respect, you don't trust, and you keep it there in the back of your head.
But you didn't have a boss, Johnny, because you were not in the mafia. Listen, I got a meeting I got to handle. I appreciate all you guys. And if you guys want to help out with the toy drive, we got one more day left, and this is it. So if you guys want to help out, your last chance, hit up the Cash App at Chattin with Staxx or Venmo, PayPal, Super Sticker, Super Chats. We're going to have some kids. They're going to have a good Christmas this year. I appreciate all you guys. Hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And if you don't like these videos, too bad. Start your own podcast. I appreciate all you guys. I hope you have a happy holiday. We're going to be doing some great things. So help me help them help you. And remember, don't be a Johnny.